Brake pad procedures on the Honda Accord, Civic, and Pilot are nearly identical, except the newest models have springs on top of the pads. It is very important to jack up the car and support it properly before proceeding at your own risk. Use a large C-clamp to push in the caliper pistons. Then remove the two caliper bolts. The rear brake pad procedure is exactly the same, so it is not shown in this video. Use a bungee cord to hang up the caliper. This is a good time to inspect for cracks on the rubber brake hose, the rubber boot around the piston, and loose control arms. Remove the old brake pads. Inspect the brake disc for cracks, warps, or glazing, and replace the disc as necessary. These brake pads still have about 50% left. Next, remove the thin metal mounting clips. We will be using new mounting hardware for the pads. Use a wire brush to clean up rust on all mounting surfaces before moving on, and use brake cleaner spray as needed. If you're not installing new brake disc, use 60 grit sandpaper to sand the disc surface, or use a powered palm sander machine. For this installation, I'm using Hawk Performance brake pads because they bite really hard and you can really tell the difference from other brake pads including OEM, but they do cost more. I've used these on several vehicles I owned, from a Z06 Vet, Japanese to European vehicles. Before installing new pads, use proper 3M silicone grease and the optional disc brake quiet coating only on the back side of the brake pads. This will keep the brakes squeak free. Apply the 3M silicone grease only to the inside channel of the mounting hardware. The grease will allow the brake pads to move as designed. The red rubber coating should only be used on the back side of the brake pad and on the back side of the mounting hardware. It is best to apply them, let it cure for a few hours before installation. When installing the new pads, the inside pad has a metal clip on one end. The outside pad does not. And the newest Hondas also have a spring connecting both pads. Other than that, the procedures are identical. Next, check the slide pins in the mounting bracket. They should slide freely as these do. But I'm going to show you how to remove, clean, and reapply grease anyway. It is very important that the slide pins move freely. Replace the pins as needed if they are rusted. Don't apply too much grease. Install the rubber boot back into the bracket first before reinserting the pins. Put some NTCs on the caliper bolt and a dab of Loctite before you tighten it up to spec. We're not bleeding the brakes on this project because the master cylinder was recently changed. But you don't have to bleed the brakes unless air was introduced into the system. Manually check the caliper to make sure that it can slide back and forth. Because the piston was pushed in, pump the brakes a few times before driving off. Thanks for watching.